All right, we're back. So let's see if this worked. This is a new show that we're doing right after we just finished the Tesla noon show. This is a after show, and we want to continue the conversation. So hopefully, folks from the previous episode are being shepherded along. Okay, so Jeff, one of the things that I did was I think it's actually the one of the main reasons. Of course, safety was one of the reasons, but the other one was I'm just sick and tired of paying service fees for my cars. So I have owned a Toyota minivan. I've owned that Volvo that I talked about. I own a BMW 535X. This is just the ones I've owned in the last 5 years to 10 years. And previously to that, of course, I've had all sorts of cars. But it is unbelievable how much service I've had to do. I've replaced the alternator, the transmission. I've had oil in my Tesla minivan spouting like crazy, just going all over the place. And so I just couldn't believe how what was happening. But I don't think that's another one of the stories behind safety that I'm not sure that people are aware that, being able to not have to pay as much in service and that peace of mind. Like I call it, people have range anxiety, but don't you have gas price anxiety? Don't you have service anxiety? And I think that
Yeah.
between range anxiety versus service anxiety, that's the one that I'm most worried about.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I do when I'm not doing a podcast with you. In my day job is working really with companies on their unit economic structure, and not to get super wonky, but in 30 seconds or less, there's a focus on what we hear about Tesla and we hear about their gross margins. We're hearing about their gross margins reported kind of on a quarterly basis, and the way to think about it is there's two kind of approaches. One is like, where is this product going to be when we launch it? And then where is it going to be over its lifetime? And a lot of these conventional automakers do look at, obviously, their lifetime unit economics as well as Tesla, but they're putting very different things in their lifetime unit economics versus launch. Like you just said, a lot of their lifetime unit economics really depend on the service parts, the service experience, the number of visits to service. They want to make that experience great, but Tesla's actually trying to avoid the visit, and they're trying to replace those gross margins with software and new experiences for people to actually enjoy their car and not have to leave it and dump it at a service center. Now, Teslas aren't perfect, right? There are issues that occur, but I mean, just fundamentally, from the lower part count and the smaller number of SKUs that they have to manage. It really leads me to believe that they're building highly reliable cars that don't have this lifetime unit economics of service visits and service parts is kind of like built into their unit economics thesis.
Yeah, is that your job? Isn't that your job? Like one of your jobs was to oops, an error.
Yeah, I do. I do work with companies on their product cost structure, their total cost structure, but really their product cost structure, and try to figure out different approaches, whether it's how the product is designed or how it's built to reduce their cost structure, both at launch and over the product's lifetime. So I'm very admirable of what Tesla's actually doing and what their approach is. It's very smart, and their sources of revenue and their sources of gross margin are high quality, and something that as an investor I feel good about.
Okay. You know what, guys? If any of you have want to join us, if you have an iPhone or something like that, I just tweeted out the StreamYard link. Just go ahead and click that and join the conversation. We'll see if this is something kind of fun and people want to do that. But yeah, so that's your thing, right? So total cost of ownership is important. And the cool thing is that the total cost of ownership don't you think it's been flipped now? So in the past, right, you'd go and try to like choose a Tesla to buy and they'd show you the calculator. But there was this all mental gymnastics, right? Because you had to pay higher price, but then they'll say, oh, but you don't have to pay the gas fees. And so if you calculate out over, the next few years, and then that's how you can kind of, get your mind over that. But now they don't have to do that anymore, right? So now the prices are pretty well close to parity. And then they can say, oh, by the way, you can buy an ICE car, you can buy an EV. And then, by the way, you don't have to pay the gas cars anymore. And then you have less service fees. You might even have less insurance, right? The insurance is quite interesting. I just read recently that Tesla started to be the underwriter for the insurance themselves, not just, offering the insurance. And they used to, partner with partners to do that. And so because they've got the data, they can underwrite it. And that's the holy grail, because now they can already give you less price because you're a good driver or you drive less miles. But once they can underwrite it, I think they're going to be able to even, offer the insurance even that much more better. So we'll see.
Well, if you think about it, they're vertically integrating in that business as well, because they're the ones actually designing and manufacturing the car. They're the ones that are putting in a collision avoidance system, an advanced collision avoidance system in their car. So they have the data. They know they can have a very good predictive model of what those insurance premiums need to be, and actually, through their engineering efforts, reduce the number of incidents and maintain a very healthy gross margin in those insurance premiums, where it's actual a very efficient transaction between the consumer and the company. So they're actually vertically if you think about the way they approach insurance, they're vertically integrating inside of that insurance model between the underwriting, the price to consumers, the underwriting, the fact that they're engineering and manufacturing the car, and the data set, the underlying data set. They're actually vertically integrated in everything they approach.
I wonder too. I'm gonna guess that when Tesla rolls it out, like a version of robotaxi, or just a piece, just a short drive or something like that, or like geofenced, they might say we will take the liability, because they've got the underwriting for the insurance. They know what the risk level is of this. They know that their car is already 5 to 10 times, or 5 to 6 times safer than a human. In certain conditions, like in geofenced areas. And then they might say, okay, I'm going to take the liability for this.
Yeah. And they'll have the data to know when they can do this. So people are like, hey, Tesla promised this or Tesla promised that. What they don't realize is that Tesla is organically developing this hardware and software capability, and they're going to put it out there when the data, says that they're ready to put it out there. And that's huge in terms of understanding like the direction of company and where they're going. So I'm pretty excited to see this, and that liability will have to flip, because consumers are looking for a better solution. They're not just looking for, can this car, okay, it's great that this car can drive itself, but to the consumer, if they're in an Uber or they're in a Lyft or they're in a Tesla and there's a driver or someone's driving itself, I don't know if there's inherent advantages to the consumer one way or another, but when the economics flip, where there's liability on the company and then the cost of the ride, cost per mile actually goes lower, then you can actually start seeing it shift to the consumer. Like, okay, I actually prefer these driverless rides.
Yeah. I want to share something here and see if you can, what you think. Boom. All right. Oops. I just ended up sharing the exact same document. Hold on. This is not the one I want to share. Come on. Sorry. Well, okay, hold on. I guess what I want to ask you is this, okay? So here we go. In Investor Day that's coming up, right? It's going to share the master plan part 3, right? Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. If you're watching this, by the way, just want to let you know that I am kind of known as the milestones guy. And so I produce this list. Many of you know that. Here's a 2022 list. Here's a 2023 list. And then, why do I have that current comment still up? But this is, sorry guys, I'm getting myself all set up. Here's the master plan all the master plans that's been discussed before, right? So if you look here, the part 2 is not complete. And so the 3 items that are not complete with master plan part 2 is expand the EV product line to address all major segments. And so that is what they're going to talk about, right? Gen 3 platform, which should have a compact car. It should have the robotaxi. It should have, maybe some people are hoping, a van. And then of course, We are launching Cybertruck this year, and Semi was launched. And so this should be a done, or it's ongoing. But basically, in their minds, they've accomplished what they need to accomplish. Now, the next two is develop a self-driving car that's 10 times safer than manual and enable your car to make money for you when you aren't using it. So these two are not done yet. So my question to you is that, can they talk about Master Plan Part 3? Is FSD going to be a topic in Investor Day? And how can they talk about Master Plan Part 3 if these aren't even part of it? Or they could actually just punt it, right? But yeah, what was your thought on that?
Well, I don't think like the second item in part 2, like I don't think it has to be, there's so many car segments. I'm going to view that as kind of being ongoing for the decade. I mean, I think there's so many different segments that there's even new segments that appear. So I think that one's going to be ongoing. I do think from a sustainable future perspective, safety is important, and can this time and can the total usage, the utilization of the vehicle fleet, can that improve significantly? Because right now the utilization of all the cars purchased in the world, you drive them home. When you're not driving them, they're doing nothing. So from a sustainability perspective, you would want to improve the percent utilization of the fleet. And so if they can measurably do that, they're going to need to put a lot of cars on the road. And that's what I think leads me back to Master Plan Part 3 and massive scale. Yeah. Gotcha. That part of it, not even the energy part, but just the massive scale, and then the batteries that are going to be needed to produce that many vehicles. I think that's what we're going to hear about. Besides I believe we're going to hear about the energy piece as well.
I love what you just said. It just blew my mind. I now get it. So they're going to say we need scale, and the more cars on the road, the more we're going to be able to solve FSD. And we need to get to that point. It's more than just 1 billion miles of driving, right?
Yeah. If you're solving sustainability, the cars need to be able to do more on their own than they do today. And that's going to be the tie-in to FSD. And then can these cars actually produce revenue per vehicle? And the way that they're going to produce revenue per vehicle is they're going to be in use for a greater percentage of time than they normally are. And when you have more utilization per vehicle, you need less number of vehicles, actually, if you think about it.
Okay, that's interesting. So this is another great comment from Adam Clark. Hey, you're rocking it today. Thank you. And it says, I don't really think they accomplished the solar portion from Master Part 1. Home solar has not been developed. Okay, I haven't. The reason I think it's great because it just triggered a thing that I've been saying recently, which is that yes, they have created solar homes. They were selling that, but I've been talking to a bunch of solar home owners, and you can see that they actually Tesla let go of a bunch of project managers and the teams to roll out solar in the residential. And I think the reason is that they're slowing down, and they realize that maybe solar roofs or residential is not where the money is. I think the money is going to be commercial. So like, retailers, solar roofs, and it's going to be tied with the Tesla Semi. So any company like a Pepsi who buys Tesla Semi, they need to buy mega packs, they need to buy solar panels because they need to charge, get that extra energy that they need. And I think they're going to use the solar panels for the mega pack. It's a solar farm. So they're going to be using solar farms, and they're going to be trying to, have an effort to try to get as much solar panels. So that's my guess, is that they're kind of purposely taming down their efforts in residential, but they're going to, share with us and all that. What do you think, Jeff? Do you think that's true?
Yeah, if you think about Tesla's business model, what are they trying to do with their factories and their cars? They're trying to make them as standard as possible in terms of the number of offerings, and they're trying to do as much platforming as possible in the factory, so that they order in bulk from suppliers, they build in bulk, and therefore they understand their issues more quickly from a quality perspective, and just the overall cost structure is lower. Now apply that same methodology to the solar roof for consumer use. It doesn't really work. It's too custom. And I believe that they pulled back from that because the unit economics don't work. They don't work for Tesla, and they don't work for the consumer.
No, I don't agree.
I've priced my roof out, and the unit economics it would be crazy to put a roof over my
We
home
just started
because
hearing
I'll be
that people would
120 years old till it pays back.
okay, but but we've been hearing that people with power packs can actually get paid now. We had a couple of customers share that they made $570 because they sold back their energy back to the utilities in California.
I believe you can. I believe you
So
can in certain situations. I'm totally on board with that. But I don't think it's presented to consumers in a way where, regardless of the size or the geometry of your roof, like you put this on versus not having it on, the economics of your home over 10 years, it's going to work out for you. I think if you're selling something to people that takes them 20 or 30 years to recoup, I think that's going to be a bit of an issue. So they've got to get the unit economics right.
This Jay Kim doesn't like me. He always says things like this. Oh, well. Yeah, that's the way it is. Okay, I'm going to share something I've not shared with anyone before, but you have seen this, guys. It is this concept of, is Tesla just another car company? And this is a table that I was working with Nitzau with, and he created the original table. And what I've just decided, and with his help, was I'm going to redesign it to try to make it easier to look at. So this is, these are all the businesses that Tesla is in. And so there is transportation, as we can see, cars and semi. And based on your recommendation, Jeff, I did what you suggested, which is highlight and bolded anything that they're currently doing and unbolded things that they haven't been doing, but they talked about possibly doing. And what I want to ask the audience here is that if you have any suggestions, because I haven't released this yet, like I have a bunch of empty ones in other, and we don't quite know how much the market cap is. I'm still working on this, but how do we make this better as a table? Because, the number one thing people talk about is, oh, Tesla's just a car company. So what we want to show is that they're not. And I kind of organize this so that it's very clear that transportation's the top left quadrant, and right beside it is energy and batteries. And you can see that mining is still not quite, there, but raw material refining is already bolded because they've announced that. Battery recycling is not quite bolded yet, but they're probably going to be addressing this. But the batteries, the energy, as we know, is massive. The Megapack business alone, the supercharger network, especially the one that's shared with everybody. Then there's the software, hardware, software, like the safety tech that we talked about. I'm also predicting that we're gonna finally hear an OEM partner with Tesla, whether it's for software, whether it's for the powertrain stuff that they need, the skateboard. There's going to be an app store. They're creating all these things, the Dojo chip, Dojo supercomputer. There's companies for every one of these. There's actually a whole list of competitors for each one of these line items. And then insurance, service and repair, and then the factories as a product, the robots and so forth, and so the other. So what do you guys think about this table? Oh, good. I don't hate you. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, I think it's really important that Jay doesn't hate Herbert.
Okay.
Herbert,
you distracted me. This is more important than that. Okay, let's get back to this. Yeah, what do you think about this table? What do you guys suggest?
Herbert, just a minute on your list. I think these are really, I don't know if it's underappreciated, but from coming from the tech industry, just the ability to track, like, these are the things that we're going to do. This is when we said we were going to do them, and are they done or not, is a truly like underappreciated task. I don't see this list anywhere. I also don't. I think people kind of ad hoc call, hey, we said you were going to do this by this time, but having this list and having it saved somewhere and having it brought up regularly and shown, like, hey, this is what Tesla said that they were going to do over the next period of time, and this is what they've actually done. I think it's a hugely powerful tool, and it's super helpful for the community. So thanks for doing that. I think this is a very interesting.
I'm just
Well, I understand for this one, but your other one that you're doing, you're kind of doing product management and program management work, right? And it's just super helpful for the community. I think this is a very interesting list, and I think sometimes it can be frustrating for people of like, hey, Tesla said that they're going to get into HVAC. Well, you know what? They're going to invent a different approach to HVAC. They're going to go into an industry and disrupt it. And sometimes those times tables are just not fixed or not easily understood. But over time, when they can actually, just like in the megapack piece, that there's a shroud of mystery around the megapack piece, but as it forms and as they erect the factory and they get into mass production, and you start seeing the lot fill up with the product, they'll announce what they're doing. It's going to become very real. So my comment on this is, I think it's a great list. It kind of tells you, like, it kind of paints a path of like why this could be a multi-trillion-dollar company. Because guess what? Not all of these are going to occur. There's going to be a batting average, and they're not going to all occur in the time frame that we may think they're going to occur. But they take so many different shots on goal, and they do it in a way of like, we think these are achievable, these things are not achievable. So it's not like they're just wasting R&D resources either, because we've seen the R&D efficiency metrics. I think Matthias, I think Alexander's also shared metrics. It shows Tesla does an outstanding job of managing R&D efficiency. So my summary is, great list. It shows you why this company could be a multi-trillion-dollar company, and Tesla's approach is great in terms of R&D efficiency.
Yeah. I think when you look at this list, there's a couple things you should think about, right? One is that Tesla can do anything they want to do, anything they think they need to do, they're going to do. And if they can do all of these businesses, they're not just a car company. They are a company that is innovative. And that's what you need. An innovative company with the smartest minds, and whatever business they decide to get into, they can basically accomplish it and make inroads. The other thing is, I lost my train of thought. If you guys can tell me what you think is missing here and if there's other ideas. If not, then I'll just leave it this way blank. But if there's other thoughts that we can put into here, that'll be great. Yeah, so the first one is that, okay, what was my train of thought here? Okay. Yeah, it's the rate of innovation that matters most. That really is the thing to think about, and they can build anything and everything. Oh, I think the other thing I was going to say was that so today we are investors in Tesla, and we see the market cap, and we're all kind of trying to figure out what is the time when that Tesla is going to be able to do the cars, the Cybertruck, the semi, and then now megapacks and energy, right? But there's going to be brand new businesses that's not on this list that will be added in the next couple of years. And I keep reminding people that 2 years ago, did any of us ever think that Tesla was going to announce that they're going to do robots? Did any of us ever think that they were going to do mining, a refinery of lithium, right? So that was just in the last 2 years. And so the next 2 years, there's going to be brand new, trust me, new things that, it's going to, like they said, he keeps saying to us, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to come out. So.
Yeah, the core of everything that Tesla is doing seems to be grounded in two things. One is creating energy, and two is AI. And you can see just how they've advanced. If you look at Tesla 2 years ago,
right,
before they started the 4680 work, and before you saw the kind of the massive improvements in FSD, and just where they've come in 2 years. It's interesting to look at companies in these 1 or 2 year chunks and kind of the moves that they've made. I believe that right now the 4680 is now stabilizing from a yield perspective. And the reason I believe that is you're starting to see significant volumes of Model Ys flowing out. And that to me was always the plan. I believe they wanted multiple models on it, but getting the Model Y, getting it stabilized on that, to me, that's a great sign. And to me, that's a great sign for so getting the energy right, doing their own battery cell, and doing their own design to have all those different efficiency and performance improvements and cost improvements as well. So this is how they're going to get up that ramp curve of massive scale. One is energy. The other thing they need is AI. And they need to get that to ramp up that curve, that massive curve as well. Again, to have a fully sustainable future and have these cars, literally operate as robo-taxis, or have the bot actually operate as labor in a factory. So then now you don't have that constraint anymore. They're looking out many years, and they're looking at what is the constraint to a fully sustainable future. That's the way to think about it. And they're clearing those constraints.
Like it. And then, so the other thing is, so of course there's going to be AI day coming up in, mid-year, right? Like they did last year. And they're going to see more about the robot, right? Might even surprise us. What if we saw in the March 1st video, like bots on the line already? That would just blow me away if that is happening. But this, there's one line item here, right? The Dojo chip, the Dojo supercomputer. I guess that's 2 line items, but basically that's Dojo as a service. They could sell that as a service to any company, and it's going to just rival, what AWS did for Amazon, which turned out to be a massive, important business unit for Amazon. And that could be another thing, just that other line item, right? Dojo supercomputer and Dojo as a service, because as it is today, he said that the NVIDIA cluster that they're using is already the 5th fastest supercomputer in the world, and there's a potential that Dojo might even surpass all that. So,
yeah, think of the chip.
EV balloons.
Think of the chip as competing against AMD, NVIDIA. Think of the cluster or the computer as competing against an NVIDIA or an AMD. In this space, and then you think of the service. Yeah, then you start thinking of Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud, and then you think of the AI training, which is, think of that as in terms of NVIDIA as well. They're entering a space here that can be super exciting. Personally, I mean, they've got to get Dojo up and working for Tesla, and they have to get it stabilized, and they have to get it expanded and get that growth going. But I believe they're building kind of a truly scalable platform. Yeah. Let's see how it performs.
They've been working on it for a couple of years, and so just Dojo alone is equivalent to like an NVIDIA, right? Not right now, but that's like a whole business just like that. And so it's like crazy how many businesses there are in Tesla and what they can do, and every one of them could possibly like totally redefine the market and have a foothold and be massive in terms of revenue. So it's fun.
Okay. One of the impediments I see that, we were trying to cut it here soon. I said one more comment.
Sure. Yeah.
Just one thing that I see as something that Tesla, and I hope actually with Dojo and with their tools and with their platform, they resolve this, is their time to market to get new models to market has to improve. I believe this is a blind spot right now for Tesla. And I think they're working on it. I hope we hear about this as part of Investor Day, of like, one of the ways to get to massive scale is not only to have more factories and have more capacity, but the way we design cars is going to be more efficient. So there's more output per square foot. And oh, by the way, the time from when we start a project and when we ship it, if they can make that shorter, guess what they can do? They can iterate faster. They can fail faster. They can also succeed faster. I believe this is one of the blind spots that they'll have to work on.
Yeah. In this line item of their announcement of what they're going to do in Investor Day, it says right here, our investors will be able to see our most advanced production line. And many of us just skip over that. What is that? Our most advanced production line. Could that be a nice interest? I don't know. Maybe we're reading way too much into this, but
yeah. Hopefully they figure out how to move faster in terms of development time. Again, there's different types of development that have different timescales. Developing full self-driving, there's no template to go look at, and I believe that there's surprises going to be along the way. The more you invent, the more you can have surprises along the way. But just these model iterations and getting product out at the right price point so they can compete with some of these companies at lower or various other price points, I believe they can go faster there. That'll be better for their revenue line to fund more expansion more quickly.
Okay, thank you everybody. I appreciate this experiment we just did.
Everyone.
We closed down the first show, then the second show appeared, and then people are supposed to be redirected. Some of you are saying that you need to press a button, play now. But thank you, everybody. Appreciate this. See you next day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.